Welcome to Setting the Stage. I'm Brooke Savage. Jesus Christ Superstar is coming to the King Center on Monday and Tuesday in Melbourne. And Alex Stone is joining us now. He plays Pontius Pilate. Alex, thank you so much for joining us today.
Hey, Brooke, it's lovely to be here with you. Thank you for having me.
Yes, of course. So the first question I always ask, tell us about how you got into acting and your journey to getting on Jesus Christ Superstar.
Okay, well, I think that would definitely have to go back to just my family was very musical. We always were playing around a piano. Anytime I was in the car, I'd be like, let's listen to musical theater. And my mom would be like, I'm trying to listen to traffic. And I'm like, no, musical theater. So she would always cater to that. And they always supported me and they always let me follow whatever path I wanted when it came to whatever I was doing in school. And I'm very humbled to have them as my parents and to constantly be supporting me, and I probably wouldn't be where I am without them in the first place. But then I was lucky enough to be able to go to the Cincinnati College Conservatory of Music for musical theater, my musical theater degree. And once I got to New York, it was just auditioning until I was able to get enough of a lucky break, able to be on the Fiddler on the Roof tour for about a year and a half, starting in 21. And then miraculously just kept auditioning, and then I was able to book this.
Wow, I definitely relate to the musical theater thing. I'm always singing songs from different musicals, so I definitely relate to that.
It's infectious. You can't beat it.
Yes, and then you realize you know more songs than you think from different plays.
Yeah, that's very true.
So what made you want to audition for Jesus Christ Superstar?
Candidly, I saw that the listing for this on Playbill and on the Actors Access on the web submit to asked for playing guitar in the show, and I'd play guitar. I'd played guitar beforehand, but I didn't think my skills were up to par. But then my wonderful girlfriend, the beautiful lady in my life, was like, just audition for it. If you send in the tapes and they don't like your guitar playing, then you've just practiced for an afternoon. If you send it in and they like what you've got, then maybe something can work out. So I kind of owe this job to her a little bit, because if I hadn't submitted for it, then they wouldn't have asked me back for a callback, and then I wouldn't have gotten this opportunity. And it all just was like taking a risk. So like at the end of the day, it's like, even if you don't think your like skills or credentials are completely up to par with whatever you might be trying to meet, if you don't do it, the answer is always going to be no.
That is great advice. It can't hurt to try.
Mm.
And so, were you intending to audition for Pontius Pilate?
I sent in for Jesus, and I sent in for one other track. I saw that there was an opportunity to like maybe just get your foot in the door somehow. So I sent in for a few things here and there, but I think a little bit like tight on time for my tapes. So I sent in what I could, and I also wanted to make sure that they could see whatever I could bring in like right away. I think like the main point of auditioning is obviously getting a good impression in front of people, getting in front of people in the first place, but also showing exactly as much as you can do when it comes to performing. It's really just about like producing art immediately. And Gethsemane, which is the main song that Jesus sings near like the middle of the show, is a crazy killer, high skrelting song that definitely can show off range. If I was able to play it efficiently on guitar for the audition, then hopefully that was going to give them some idea of what I could do. And obviously they liked enough to have me sing some more work for them.
Wow, that is really cool. And what does it mean to you to be a part of a show that's celebrating 50 years?
It's truly an exceptional piece to be a part of. I'm kind of wowed and astounded every single day when I'm part of the show. But I mean, even more so when I was in rehearsals. We had a wonderful directorial team that would just like sit us down for any kind of conversations, whether it was just me or there was a few of us that they were talking to or the entire cast. They would just like say things almost off the top of their head that I would be like, I need to write that down immediately before I forget that nugget of beautiful knowledge. And then I remember one time the associate director brought me into like a room to work with him, and he'd be like, I see you writing stuff down all the time. Stop. You need to truly just like focus less on the intellectual stuff and more about just working through this material yourself. And I was like, but you're saying so many good things. Please don't. No. Let me write this down. It's wonderful to have a director who's so giving with the work, but at the same time, you can tell that the creative team, when they made this show, cares so much about every single song. It's truly an exceptional show. And if you love Jesus Christ Superstar, you are going to be having a blast with this show. They care so much about every song, every minute moment. It's a blessing to be part of this.
That sounds like a lot of fun. So what does your day-to-day life look like? What's it like being on, and how long have you been on tour?
This tour has been running since September. It will vary from time to time. If we ever get a sit down in a city where we're here for more than a few days, we'll usually have some time off, which means if you have the energy, you can go explore whatever city or whatever adventure is nearby. Usually I'll try to get a workout in as much as I can. And then the show is around, like, we don't have to be there until maybe like half hour before call, which is really lovely. You get in makeup, you stretch up, and then you go on stage and do the show. My show is very different from everyone else's. Everyone else in the cast, they are mostly on stage all of the time, dancing their hearts out. They are truly impressive artists. They are doing things that I never could be able to do. I'm on stage for about 15 minutes. So I have my little time, but they really are the heart of this show. They push themselves to the extreme, and they are marvelous. It's really wonderful because you will watch them on stage, and you will have one person in the ensemble that you will love more than others because they are such a unique artist.
Yes, and so you just mentioned it a little bit. It takes a lot of work to put on a performance. How do you prepare for a show? Is there any exercises you do? I know sometimes actors talk about taking special teas. What do you do?
It's weird. I don't like tea. I don't know what it is, but I'm also really boring. I'm boring when it comes to whatever I drink. So I usually do this thing where I have a straw and I'll put it in water, and then I will just blow bubbles through it, and I might do some vocal exercises through that. Doing that vocal phonation through a straw puts a lot of back pressure on the vocal cords, which actually helps to like relax and soothe them if you're having a stressful time or your voice is tired. That's something that can really be relaxing on the cords, especially if you're singing stuff that is insanely high to sing. Otherwise, I'll stretch and I'll try to work out whenever I can.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I'm not a tea person either, not gonna lie.
Awesome. Yes, I'm in good company.
And so how do you get into your character's headspace?
That's a very, very good question, because I feel I'm very different from my character, because I like to have a little bit of whimsical goofiness in my life. I like to enjoy life, and Pilate is a very, very stoic, very serious character, but he also doesn't take anything, but he's kind of the top dog wherever he roams. But there's also inside his head, there's also a lot of doubt when it comes to seeing all these visions of this man that he has no idea who he is, and hearing the crowd's reaction to him based on what he does to that man, and he's confused by it entirely. But then he sees this guy and he meets him and he sees, oh, okay, this guy is in fact the Son of God. Oh, everything I saw was preordained, and I am going to be punished for what I do to him. I need to stop this. It's a confusing mix of emotions that he has to go through in a little bit of time. So I always roll my shoulders back to make myself taller, and I try to constantly put myself in a state of being like I have a Ferrari, I have a Mercedes, I drive them both at the same time. Everyone around me has a Honda Civic. I need to like run these people down with my voice, with my dialogue, and with steps. I try to take as little steps as possible on stage. That shows, I think that shows more power. If you do less, then that's actually showing more. There's more gravitas, which can then be amplified by how much panic he has in the last scene and him running around like crazy, juxtaposed by how little he moves the first time you see him.
Mm-hmm. And so you mentioned that you're pretty different from your character. How do you relate to him?
Oh, it's a very good question. It's interesting to compare yourself to a Roman governor way back in the day. He's got, as I said a moment ago, he's got of doubt. He's constantly asking himself, why am I having this dream about this guy? Why is this person, this random beaten prisoner, brought up to me, and oh, he's the king of the Jews? Why him? What makes this guy so special? And then he says, and then when I say, oh, so that's who you are, you are exactly, and instead of being like, yes I am, he just goes, that's what you say, to which that infuriates him even more. So he constantly is asking why, and I can definitely relate to the doubt and anxiety that he goes through in that. And it's less about trying to like get connected to the character like emotionally as I relate to him, and more of, okay, if these are the circumstances that my character is playing through, what would it take for me to accept those same circumstances? If I see a guy, I look him in the eyes, and and this character sees that is the Son of God, what feeling would that take for me to also accept that? If I saw some random guy walking down the street nowadays, I looked him in the eyes, and I knew for 100% certainty that was Jesus Christ. It's that kind of level, which is a very serious like commitment to your character, but it honestly provides the most dynamic response in myself physically. And if I can convince myself at first, that is the most important thing, because the rest and the audience's exception, that will follow through.
Wow, I really like that. Now to a fun question. If you could play any other character in the show, who would it be and why?
Oh my God, I love the role of Judas. It's so much fun. I have been fortunate and lucky enough to be able to have played it 2 other times. Aside from the fact that the vocal part is just like, it hits it's with my throat like just right. It's so good. It fits my voice perfectly. Aside from that, the part so wonderfully dynamic, goes through such turmoil, but also has just a chunk of fun with it. There's such a beautiful dichotomy between Jesus and Judas, and it's kind of the detraction of these 2 friends, these 2 characters, but also trying to save one another. It's heartbreaking. It's so tragic. It's so fun. It's wonderful.
It sounds like actually sometimes actors love to play villains because they think it's fun.
Well, I mean, I don't know if I would consider Judas or Pilate villains of the show. Caiaphas is a bad guy, bad guy. But I would say that both of those characters are a little misunderstood and definitely sympathetic in a way. Because Judas is trying his darndest to be like, listen, I don't want us to die. You have lost a little bit of your way, and because of that, we have targets on our back. The heat is on, and you got the power to save, and you're not doing it. You're simply just accruing more and more. When it comes to Pilate, he's definitely antagonistic, but that doesn't inherently make them the villain per se. And especially when he recognizes who Jesus is and what that means for his life and how his name is going to be forsaken for the rest of eternity. He definitely is trying to not only save himself, but also save him, and giving him opportunities to be like, please save yourself so I don't have to crucify you, because that's what the crowd wants, and we're both going to be damned for it. Please save yourself. So you definitely see him trying to extend a branch and extend a hand to say, there is something that we can do about this, and you have the power to do it if you give me a chance. And unfortunately, it's just very tragic the way it all turns out.
Yeah, those are some good points. What is your favorite part of the show?
That is a good question. I would have to say, if you're talking about like a scene specifically, I do love how we do the finale, the titular song, Superstar. Judas, I mean, it's, aside from the fact that he's absolutely wailing on the chords and doing a wonderful job with the the dramatics of the scene, the ensemble is going absolutely ballistic with their dancing. It makes me sweat just looking at it. And I'm off stage just watching it. It's so fun to see it all, how dynamically juxtaposed. Judas is like going through a very tragic sensation, and he's like wailing and like kind of in hell almost, while the ensemble is having a dance party. It's a very tragic juxtaposition between the two things, and also Jesus getting crucified at the same time. It's very, very sad. You don't really see that too much on stage. You know it's coming from the beginning of the show because it is the titular song of the show. So you know it's going to be building up, so the anticipation of it build up in your heart, and once it gets there, it does really stick the landing.
Awesome. Is there anything else you want people to know about the show?
Yes, I would. Again, as I said earlier, if you are a fan of Jesus Christ Superstar, if you've been singing this song since you were little, like I was, in the car growing up, or you heard the song when it first came out in 71, or you only know the three chords, the ba ba ba, if you only know that, or you love this show, you are going to have a marvelous time with this production. I candidly believe it is unlike any show you've ever seen. It's like a rock concert mixed with musical theater. The staging is exceptional. The dancing is insane. It is a true powerhouse of 90 minutes. You're going to have an absolute blast, and I cannot wait to see the reaction from the audiences, because that's kind of what gives this show a lot of life. If the ensemble is as thoroughly engaged and into the production as we are while we're doing it, it makes us like absolutely love our jobs even more and create an even better version of the show that makes it unique every single night.
What is some of the feedback you've gotten from the audience?
Oh, they love it. They love it. I haven't had anybody come up and say, "Hey, that was bad and I didn't like it." I mean, people who come to the stage door and thank us are it's really lovely to hear that, because we go to many places that don't get a lot of exposure to Broadway theater, or they don't have the time or the money to be able to go up to New York whenever they want to and see as many Broadway shows as they want. I mean, that's expensive. So it's really kind of, I don't know, fulfilling to be able to go to all these places across the country, even for a night or two, and to be able to bring this lovely piece of art that I am so proud of to hundreds, and for them to be like, "Hey, I have been listening to this show forever, and this has been my favorite version of the show I've ever seen. This is the only show I've ever seen of it. It has blown me away. We cannot thank you enough for being here." That is kind of so fulfilling, and in a way, it's doing what I hope art does, which is inspire, and it brings art to groups of people that, again, don't normally have the chance to see it, and hopefully that makes the world just like a little bit of a better place.
Wow, I love that. Well, again, Jesus Christ Superstar is coming to the King Center in Melbourne on Monday and Tuesday. Alex, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me today. It's been really lovely chatting with you.